The Dallas Mavericks moved to a season-high 10 games above 500 after getting a 113-109 win over the Brooklyn Nets. This is the Gray Area right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. The Dallas Mavericks moved to 38-28 on the season after getting a very nice win at home over a Brooklyn Net team that saw Kyrie Irving go off for 45 points in this game. Kevin Durant did have 20 points, but it was on 7 of 21 shooting thanks to the terrific defense from one Dorian Finney-Smith. The Dallas Mavericks now still hold on to the 5th seed in the Western Conference after getting this win at home over the Brooklyn Nets as they look forward to taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday. The Dallas Mavericks now on the season, as I mentioned, 18-15 at home, now a perfect 23-0 when leading after the first quarter. The Dallas Mavericks led after the first quarter 37-32. Willie Cauley-Stein was terrific in the first quarter, active with 6 points, 2 assists, a couple of rebounds, a block shot, and a steal. He was getting active early and often for this Mavericks team, trying to set the tone on the defensive end. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 10 points. Also, Josh Richardson had 7, while Luka Doncic had 8, as the Mavs shot 54% from the field in the first quarter. Things changed, though, in the second quarter. Kyrie Irving had 15 of his 25 first-half points in the second quarter alone. Meanwhile, Kevin Durant scored 10 of his first half, 16 points in the second quarter. Luka Doncic, though, kept steady as they went tit for tat, did Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Doncic had 11 points on 3 of 5 shooting from the downtown. But the Mavs in the second quarter shot just 36% from the field in the second quarter, but led 63-62 at the half. Dwight Powell had 6 points, 3 rebounds, and a couple assists and a block shot in that second quarter there. Obviously, it was an important win for the Mavericks, especially knowing the pressure that continues to build for them as they get down toward the final few games of the season. As I mentioned, they host the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday as they continue to keep hold of the 5th seed in the Western Conference. I asked Dwight Powell after the game, especially with the pressure that this team is under right now, how was this team managing the pressure going forward, knowing that you have to win each night to keep pace in the Western Conference? Here's what Dwight Powell had to say. Hey, Dwight, there's obviously pressure to win every single night in this league, but given the circumstances of where you guys right now, how are you all managing the pressure of dealing with each game, especially down the stretch here?
Yeah, I mean, this season especially, the way things are set up, every game counts. So we knew that at the beginning of the year, and fortunately put ourselves in a position where we kind of control our destiny. So we're really just focusing on the next opponent and preparing the best of our ability to compete every night.
So Dwight Powell saying, look, we're taking things one game at a time. Obviously, there's pressure to win every single night in this league, and the pressure couldn't be higher for a basketball team right now that is trying to stay out of the play-in tournament while still at the same time putting themselves in the best position to continue to build momentum in the Western Conference. Dwight Powell was especially terrific in the fourth quarter after a third quarter which saw the Mavs shot 50% from downtown, but just 29% overall from the field in the third quarter, scoring just 19 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 5 points, but Luka Doncic was 0 of 6 from the field during the third quarter, just 1 of 4 from the free throw line, and the Nets took the lead at 83-82 when Mike James hit a shot with 2.9 seconds left in the third quarter to give the Nets that 1-point lead. But in the fourth quarter, though, things changed drastically for the Dallas Mavericks. They shot 60% from the field. Jalen Brunson was the closer again tonight, 3 of 3 from the field, a perfect field goal percentage, obviously, with 8 points. Dorian Finney-Smith had 7 points. Josh Green provided some terrific energy off the bench. He had a terrific play throwing the ball off of a Nets defender and allowing Jalen Brunson to get off a jump shot that allowed the Mavericks to get back into it. Obviously, Dwight Powell was terrific in the fourth quarter, too. He had 4 straight points that gave the Mavericks a 96-92 lead, and they really didn't look back from there. They obviously had to hang on in the end, but Dorian Finney-Smith was also huge in this game. He was the defensive player of the game. A plus 23 was Dorian Finney-Smith in this basketball game. I asked Dorian Finney-Smith after the game, obviously with the pressure to win night over night, how is this team, in his mind, handling the pressure given what this team has been doing now that they are 29-14 in the last 43 games? Here's what Dorian Finney-Smith had to say. Dorian, this team is 29-14 in their last 43 games after a 9-14 start. What has been the biggest difference in that 43-game stretch in your mind that has seen this team turn it around the way that it has?
We had our full team. I mean, the first couple games, it was just weird. guys going out for protocols and stuff. So, we knew we had a great team. It was just if we coach told us whoever team stay the healthiest the most this year gonna put themselves in the best chance to have a great year. We ain't start off right. Had some unfortunate circumstances, but when we had everybody back, I feel like we could play with anybody.
So Dorian Finney-Smith saying, look, we know what it is to have to do every single night. And at the beginning of the season, a team that was 9-14 had lost 10 of 13 games at one point. They found themselves getting healthy as the season went on, and you've seen what this team has done, a 674 win percentage in their last 43 basketball games, 29-14, to get themselves in this position where they're a season-high 10 games above 500 at 38-28 as they continue to move toward the playoffs as far as the Western Conference is concerned, knowing teams like the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and others are tight on their heels given the final 5-6 games left in this season for each of these teams. This was despite the fact that Luka Doncic was not very good, especially in the second half. In fact, Doncic only went 2 of 11 from the field, 0 of 4 from the three-point line, and just 1 of 4 from the free throw line. Had just 5 points in the second half alone. But he did everything else that he could to help this team win against a Nets team that, yes, did not have James Harden, but at the same time had 2 superstars, obviously, in Kyrie Irving and a former league MVP and one Kevin Durant. Doncic had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in the second half, and really did everything else that he could despite struggling from the field. I asked Luka Doncic after the game what it was for him to continue to do everything else despite the fact that he was struggling from the field. Here's what Luka Doncic had to say. Luka, how important was it for you to stay locked in while struggling in the second half with 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and a couple of steals to ensure you were doing other things to help your team besides scoring tonight?
Yeah, obviously I wasn't. It was one of the worst games I played, but we got to win. That's all matters. I'm just trying to. When you're not scoring, try to do other things and just keep playing. Keep playing.
So Luka Doncic saying, look, I had to continue to do the little things to help us win despite the fact that I wasn't scoring in this game to put ourselves in the best position to help win. And they were able to hang on down the stretch because they were not shooting the ball well from the free throw line. They shot both 44% from the field and from the three-point line in this game, despite the fact that they only shot 69% from the free throw line, which is obviously concerning going forward as you get down in games down the stretch in clutch time, the ability to do so. Obviously, they did this in front of royalty on this night. Dirk Nowitzki was in the house along with former President George W. Bush, and the Dallas Mavericks were able to help get themselves in position to stay and keep pace in the Western Conference. I asked Tim Hardaway Jr. after the game about the pressure of continuously winning games with the situation that is in front of them down the stretch in the final 6 games of the year, given how the Western Conference playoff standings look. Here's what Tim Hardaway Jr. had to say after the game. Tim, to kind of go along with that, obviously there's pressure to win every single night in this league, but with the way that the season is set up and the playoff stretch going the way that it is there additional pressure to continuously win ball games night over night, knowing what's at stake here?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be pressure. That's the beauty of sports. So just being able to go out there and play each possession like it's your last, it's an honor. So, you got to definitely go out there, compete, like I said, on both ends of the floor, no matter who the opponent is, and just try to go out there and win ball games, no matter how they come.
So Tim Hardaway Jr. saying, look, we have to continuously put ourselves in the position to where we're focusing on the task at hand and the games that are in front of us, the final 6 games of the season. As we spin this forward, the Dallas Mavericks host the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday before traveling to Cleveland to play a home-and-home series against the Cleveland Cavaliers before going on the road to take on the Memphis Grizzlies one more time. This is an important 6 games, obviously, given the playoff scenario that they're in. They have to continuously win to find themselves locking in a top 6 seed in the Western Conference, given the jockeying for position between themselves, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Portland Trail Blazers. The Lakers and the Portland Trail Blazers themselves get together on Friday for a crucial matchup, obviously, in the Western Conference standings with no LeBron James. So it was an important win for them to get at home against a Brooklyn Net team that's one of the top teams, obviously, in the NBA. Kyrie Irving, 45 points on this night. Kevin Durant, still as he's coming back from his torn Achilles, played okay at times in this game, had 20 points, but Dorian Finney-Smith, the yeoman's job that he did holding him to 7 of 21 from the field. He also had 17 points. Jalen Brunson, who I mentioned earlier, 8 points in the fourth quarter, 15 points in total in this game to help out a struggling Luka Doncic on the offensive end, who still wound up with 24 points, and Tim Hardaway Jr. also had 23. Dorian Finney-Smith got the defensive player of the game in this particular game for his work, a plus 23 in the plus-minus category to go along with those 17 points. So now the Mavericks continuously find themselves now playing in very important games down the stretch. There cannot be any kind of lax or kind of let up, obviously, going forward. You get up for these kinds of games, these nationally televised games, as this one was on TNT against some of the best teams in the NBA, like the Brooklyn Nets, but you cannot let your guard down when you take on the Cleveland Cavaliers for back-to-back games, knowing the importance of what you have to do going forward. Here's Rick Carlisle talking about that importance, about continuously focusing on the task at hand, no matter who the opponent is, from night to night. Here's what Rick Carlisle had to say after the game.
This is all experience that we need. There are also situations that are new. Last year at this time we were locked into the seventh position and weren't going to go lower. Had a possibility to go higher. This year's a whole different ball game. There's so much in play. And so the thing that I'm most proud of with this group is that they're blocking out all the external noise and concentrating, play to play, game to game, and doing everything possible to help each other play well. And that's what we got to continue to do.
So the Dallas Mavericks know what they have to do. Continue to get off to terrific starts as they are 23-0 after the first quarter of this season. Continuously bring the effort and energy on the defensive end like they did in this game, especially in the third quarter, despite the fact that they only scored 19 points. They themselves only gave up 21 points to the Brooklyn Nets, given how well that they were playing offensively, especially Kyrie Irving in the first half. So bringing the continuous defensive intensity. Yes, no Kristaps Porzingis, who was doubtful for the game on Friday against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and also no Maxi Kleber, who's still dealing with right Achilles tenderness right now. So you're doing these things without some of your best players on your team, continuously winning ball games. But more importantly, in this game against the Nets, you found a way to get a 113-109 win when you desperately had to have it, given the situation that you're dealing with in the Western Conference playoff standings. You have to win night over night, and you cannot let your guard down, and they cannot do so in these next two games against the Cleveland Cavaliers here at home at the American Airlines Center before traveling to Cleveland to take on the Cavaliers in their building. But this was a very nice win. I would say a terrific win against a playoff team, obviously, that's trying to have championship aspirations for themselves. You did it in front of royalty with Dirk Nowitzki in the building. Obviously, you handled your business the way that you needed to, given the fact that you cannot afford to lose ball games down the stretch. So the Dallas Mavericks get a 113-109 win at home at the American Airlines Center. Now a season-high 10 games above 500 at 38-28 on the season. Now 18-15 at home on the season. A season that has been up and down, that it seemed at times was lost with the 9-14 start, losing 10 out of 13 games. But give this team credit. They got a team win from a lot of guys who contributed, with 6 guys in double figures: Willie Cauley-Stein, Josh Green, Dwight Powell, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson, any number of guys you want to name. They had a contributing hand in winning this game for the Dallas Mavericks, and needed to have this kind of win given what they are dealing with. So now all you have to do is just keep winning if you're the Dallas Mavericks, and we'll see if they continue to do so. The Dallas Mavericks get a 113-109 win over the Brooklyn Nets here at the American Airlines Center. They host the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday before traveling to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers in a home-and-home. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. This has been another episode of The Gray Area. We'll talk to you later. Peace.